Hey, everybody. Let's see if we can get this one done without Josh. He is training in Minnesota with Nick doing another level of Citizen Defender. One might ask, why am I not there? They're doing the last level that Bill and I did. So they're getting it done. Good luck to those guys. I guess Josh already got kneed in the head in a drill by the one and only Minnesota Martial Arts. Now I'm going to blank on his name. That is terrible. Oh, well. Greg Nelson. I had Todd Fosse. That's the instructor for IDS. So mixed up those names. So I was going to bring on Leo, my French bulldog, but he decided to work in the office with my wife. She's more popular today. He usually joins me in the afternoon, but he must be boycotting me. He is much better looking than Josh, but some people might argue. So today we're talking about training power zones. These are really important, guys. I'll bring up the slide from our ClearSky.Training. Where is it? There it is. Website where you can train with us online. That's great for our students. Get on there, get in it. There's a ton of stuff, including testing for each belt level that is required here at Rocky Mountain Self-Defense and Fitness, our home base here in Castle Rock, Colorado. So look, guys, I remember being a white belt and kind of my instructor calling me the wild and crazy one, the one and only Master Miller from Nantucket Taekwondo. He was always telling me to slow down. I had just came off high school football and I just knew one thing, like go hard, go 100%. And that leads to injuries and a whole ton of other things that can happen in that 100% all out. And I'm constantly telling beginners, slow it down, slow it down. And what I see looks like I was going slow, and you're all going, or we are all going way faster than we think. Standing off the sidelines, you start to see it. And, one thing I tell people, I've watched you hit the bag at 100%. You're pretty darn close to that in that drill or whatever we might have been doing. So to quickly summarize, zone 1 is 0 to 20. Zone 2 is 20 to 40% speed and power. Zone 3, 40 to 60. Zone 4, controlled speed and power. And zone 5, 80 to 100. And we're leaving that to testing, once in a while type of training where you can get hurt, but we need to do that sometimes to test our mental toughness and put us under that real world stress. But the likelihood of getting hurt, injured on those always goes up. So we don't want to spend much time in zone 5 at all. Now look, zone 1, it's on this slide a bit here, but I'm looking on my bigger screen because of my old eyes. Slow is smooth. If you learn slow, you can get this stuff down. Focus on precision, timing, the mechanics. You're really going way slower than you think you should. There's really no power behind everything you do. We'll call it slow touch sparring when we're doing sparring at this level. It's just slow. It's just landing a light touch. Just you're not even going to knock over that glass of water. I always kind of joke around and say, unless you have a sippy cup at the dinner table, you should be able to reach out and touch somebody without smashing them. You want to build clean habits and good muscle memory here. You want to learn more on quote unquote muscle memory. Check out Andrew Huberman's podcast. That's fantastic. Neuro guy. I forget his whole repertoire, but we're not going to get into Andrew Huberman. So, the philosophy here is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. One of my first levels, I can't remember the first or second, and I had a guy that I was training with in the hotel after, and he said to me after the test, wow, I kind of thought you were really slow and wonky, some things to that effect. And I said, why'd you think that? Oh, when we were training, you just did everything was really slow. Like, I'm just trying to get it down. So when I do go fast, the wheels aren't falling off. You're building good habits. It pays off in the long run. Zone 2, where, we're moving up a little bit, 20 to 40%. but it is still pretty darn slow here, guys. 20 to 40%, not that fast at all. We want our reactions to become natural in these. Sorry, I had to click the slide. For those of you guys on YouTube, you can check these slides out without even visiting our portal or signing up for a low-cost membership on there. All this stuff takes time, and until I hit Powerball, I'm trying to make some money. All right, let's see. Focus, flow, control, consistent technique, being able to do it time after time without your, let's say, uppercut, breaking 90 degrees, being too far away from the person. We're doing this in self-defense. You're building those good habits that I'm using this tool. It's slow enough to recognize I have an uppercut elbow. I have whatever technique, a knee strike. Hey, they're a little bit further away. I need to go to a kick, or they're further away. I need to go to an advancing kick to keep my tools on this guy and to stay engaged, right? Power is really low to moderate. It's not going to cause bruising. Most people aren't going to say, ouch, when you hit them at 20%. You get up to 40, depending on somebody, but it starts to get you accustomed to getting hit. We even say with our kick shields, you're getting used to getting hit. So this is not a big shock in an actual fight. And a lot of people fool themselves and think they're going to be fine. And then there's utter shock on their face when they actually get hit, even at 50%, never mind somebody hitting you at full speed. So we want to kind of get used to getting hit and sparring and all that type of stuff at this 20 to 40 zone. Get comfortable with it. It doesn't happen overnight. We want to be able to groove in the movements. Safe repetition builds confidence. Your partner's not freaking out and doing weird things on you because you're just going so fast and out of control, and they're just trying to stay the heck away from you. We want to spend most of our training time in zone 1 and 2. That's 60%. If you kind of do the math on those, we're in there. It's a good zones to be in. They're my favorite 2 zones. Constantly saying, if you don't see the fight slow, you're not seeing it fast. You're just fooling yourself. You're just windmilling in. You're just spazzing out. Hey, when in doubt, be aggressive, spaz out. By all means, windmill in. But man, I don't want to have to resort to those type of things. Zone 3 is at 40 to 60%. Smooth as fast, right? Focus on realism without recklessness. Again, nobody wants to be your partner when you're crazy. Speed's moderate. Our power is controlled and clean. You're able to stop that punch. You're going slow enough that you can stop the strike. Your partner maybe moves a little bit unexpectedly. You're still able to control that. And that's a thing that takes time. It's repetition, like everything else. Repetition. Purpose, add pressure while still staying sharp. We want to spend about 20% of our training time on this. And one note on all of these, they're great to do on a heavy bag. When you're kicking a kick shield, you can practice these things shadow boxing without a partner and kind of feel your own speeds and try to figure that out. And, when in doubt, video yourself, be your own coach, watch yourself try like full speed and then go, all right, let me cut that down in half and really try to relate that. It's a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to even watch and kind of tell, but you just have to do it. It's a tougher things for coaches, figuring out people and, their different speeds and knowing, hey, that guy is actually extremely fast. I think of Coach Ben. He's extremely explosive and fast, more so than the average person. So watching different people, it's always a challenge for coaches to, help that person along their journey. This 60 to 80, I guess that's where I'm at. Timing under pressure, zone 4 is where we're at. Sorry, I need Josh. Timing under pressure, speed, you're going fast here. Power's high, but with restraint, you're still able to pull it off. Even if you're hitting them pretty hard, you were dialing it back. That happens to me, quite a bit at this speed that, something happens, whether, you get away from yourself a little bit, a lot of times a person moves, you're still able to pull the brakes, even though you probably hit that person at 50%, but you dialed it back 25%. It's a tough thing to do and recognize in fighting. I want to find my cracks in my technique. The wheel, things start, coming unhinged. The wheels are coming off the car at this, and you really start to recognize, ooh, I should be spending some more time in zone 1 or 2, possibly, to kind of fix those errors that were happening under that type of speed and stress, 15% of the time. Zone 5, all right, 80 to 100. That's a stress test. What are you doing? It's probably in an advanced test, is where we're going to see this. And I actually just updated these slides here on some of this. I guess I added it on mine, but not on yours, because we've got takeaways coming up next. But, you're going max speed and max power, simulates a real fight stress, but we're rarely doing this, right? Because of that high risk of injury, a concussion, all that type of stuff when we're training this fast. We don't want to do it that much, but we have to do it. Sometimes I'll use the NFL and go, when are these guys hitting full speed? They're hitting full speed, in preseason, but once they get in season, it's game day, right? It's game day. And for us at Rocky Mountain, it's throw down the gauntlet in that advanced testing zone when somebody's mentally and physically ready to do this. It's going to defeat underbelts, even though they might feel that they're ready. This is a good deal of training that you're getting up and going in that 80 to 100% stress level for people, ground fighting, stand up fighting, bull in the ring type of thing where you're doing self-defense. That's really tough to be going hard because, you're being a bad guy. You're attacking the person. You're not quite doing things that you would normally do, but, you got to defend yourself on those. So a bit of it is got to be you as the actual fighter, but you're training somebody that's trying to go really full tilt. So we're not spending a lot of time in these. It's not part of your daily or monthly training routine. This is where you've got to train more. I say it all the time, but that's what it comes down to a whole lot of the times, that we just need to go slow. We don't need to defeat somebody, especially as coaches, by going way too fast. We want to be able to, give them the car keys when they're ready for the car keys and not before. So I think this about wraps it up, especially without Josh. It's kind of a quick one here. I'll look through a couple of my other notes. I guess I didn't hit your takeaways. They're a little bit further down. If you're watching on YouTube, I added a couple things. Number one takeaway, we train smart, we train safe, we train for real life, but nobody needs to be injured unnecessarily, because that is going to happen when you're going fast. Injuries do happen. It's part of contact sports. Actually, a real beginner in our citizen defender class just said, you guys are always hurt. Well, like sometimes, yeah, you're banged up. I played contact sports since I was in the 5th grade. Yeah, my knees currently looking to be evaluated by the doctor and see what's going on. But there was nothing in class that happened. It was just, wear and tear. That's things that happen. And, she was a little concerned about getting hurt, but I'm like, we're slowly ramping you up. Any good school, she was referring to watching the advanced people. I'm like, you're comparing somebody that's been in my gym 5 years plus is what she was comparing some students. I mean, some of them had even longer than that. As a beginner, you're going to start off slow and easy. That's zone 1 and 2. Nobody needs to get hurt, and you need to be ready for that higher level training, even though right? We all think we're ready for that higher level training after, our first intro class, especially the guys. Takeaway 2, how we train is how we fight, right? You've got to be realistic, but you also have to be safe. And different aspects of this is just huge. The habits you build in training, your timing, your composure, your discipline. As I was actually just saying somebody today, like, settle down. You're getting like really aggressive, trying to push your daughter around. And, her daughter's, teenager. I think she's probably 17, 18. You're just trying to go too hard. Just relax. I can see that you're muscling the technique. Like, relax, under pressure. We want to be relaxed. Um, let's see, where did I leave off on that? Your timing, your composure, your discipline are exactly what you will rely on when it counts. Train sloppy, fight sloppy, right? You just kind of look like crap. You're windmilling in, and we all degrade. One of my favorite things, to watch is Olympic weightlifting for this, because you can see the person degrade as their weight goes up, under that stress, under that load. And if you lift crappy and you have crappy technique, man, does it look totally horrible when you're trying to get up to your max level or close, an 80% max, a 90% max, and your technique is sloppy. It is terrible. The best trained person is coming undone with stress and fatigue. So if you train that way and your punch is crappy, you know, in class, it's going to be worse under stress. Don't fool yourself. Train with purpose and you'll respond with power and control. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. We want to keep that one under 30 minutes, and we're at like 17. So I'm doing great without Josh, but not really. He missed his insights on this one, but we will catch you guys next time. Let's check out. I can let you guys check it out. We've got 2 of the same slides for you guys. We're going to be talking about our core training categories next, and how we prioritize what we're doing here at Rocky Mountain Self-Defense and Fitness, and our online training portal, ClearSky.Training. If you want to support us in this podcast, you can do that on ClearSky.Training. There's a link over to our shop, or you can sign up for a membership. You can also check out our supplements, because I was sick of supplements that sucked. So we partnered with a great brand that does our packaging and has great supplements. They provide supplements for a lot of companies out there that are doing the same thing. It's just wrapped in a different package. It's really great stuff, guys. Suckless.co. All right, check it out, guys. I will see you guys next time.